You know, it's funny, just having this a copy of the Bitcoin white paper open, it feels kind of significant, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Like we're about to crack open some ancient scroll or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess in a way we are, right? I mean, this document supposedly sparked a whole revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So you reached out, wanted to take a deep dive into this thing, really get into the nitty-gritty of what Satoshi Nakamoto was actually proposing back in 2008.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating piece of work.
All right, so let's jump right in. The very first thing that jumps out is Nakamoto's central question.
Oh, yeah.
Can we create a digital cash system, but, and this is the kicker, without relying on banks or governments?
Right. Completely cutting out the middleman. It's a pretty radical idea when you think about it, especially back then in 2008. When
Oh, for sure.
online payments were basically synonymous with credit cards and, well, the entire traditional financial system.
Totally. And Nakamoto even calls this out right there in the white paper.
Yeah.
They talk about how with the systems we had back then, true irreversibility was practically impossible.
Because you always needed some central authority to
Exactly.
verify and process everything.
Someone to act as the referee, essentially.
It's like Nakamoto looked at the limitations of those systems and said, well, what if we just got rid of them altogether?
Spoof. Gone.
It's a bold question to ask, and it really gets you thinking about the nature of trust and control in the digital world.
It's like we're so used to having these institutions, these intermediaries, that we don't even question their role anymore. And that's where this idea of a peer-to-peer network comes in, which Nakamoto highlights as the key.
Yeah, instead of going through a central authority.
You have computers connecting and transacting directly with each other.
Cutting out those intermediaries completely.
Okay, so that's the vision, but how do you actually build that?
Right. How do you make sure it's secure? How do you prevent fraud?
Exactly. It sounds great in theory, this whole decentralized system, but in practice, how do you actually make it work?
Well, that's where the real genius of Bitcoin comes in.
All right, lay it on me.
It all boils down to two core concepts that Nakamoto introduces.
Mm-hmm.
A timestamp server and proof of work.
Okay, that sounds a little technical.
Yeah, they're definitely at the heart of how Bitcoin actually works.
So, for those of us who aren't cryptography wizards, how would you explain these concepts?
Okay, so imagine a system where every single transaction gets timestamped and then added to a public record.
Kind of like a giant digital notary ledger.
Exactly. And everyone on the network has a copy of this ledger.
So if everyone has a copy, wouldn't that prevent double spending? Because everyone would be able to see if you tried to, use the same digital coin twice.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
But there's still the question of how to prevent someone from going back and tampering with this public record.
Okay. So, what's stopping someone from just erasing transactions they regret? Or, I don't know, creating fake transactions in their favor?
Right, and that's where proof of work comes in. This is where things get really interesting.
All right, I'm intrigued. Hit me with it.
So picture this. A giant digital Sudoku puzzle, and everyone on the network is racing to solve it. Every time someone solves the puzzle, they get to add a new block of transactions to the blockchain.
Hold on, blockchain? I don't think I've heard that term before.
You're right. Nakamoto doesn't actually use that specific term in the white paper.
Interesting. Okay, so go on about this Sudoku puzzle.
Right. So this puzzle, this proof of work, requires an incredible amount of computing power to solve. It's like trying to, find a single specific grain of sand on a beach.
Okay, so it's a real challenge. I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
So because it's so computationally difficult to solve this puzzle, it becomes extremely difficult to tamper with the blockchain.
Because anyone trying to cheat would have to redo all that work for every single block that came before it.
Exactly. It just wouldn't be worth the effort. It's much easier and much more profitable to just play by the rules.
So the system is designed to make honesty the best policy.
Precisely.
But that brings up another question. What's the incentive for all these people to contribute their computing power in the first place? Why bother solving these puzzles if there's no reward?
That's the clever part. It's built right into the system.
Okay.
Remember that computational puzzle? That proof of work?
Yeah, the digital Sudoku thing.
The first person to solve it, to add a new block to the chain, they get rewarded.
With Bitcoin.
Bingo. That's the heart of mining.
So it's like a gold rush, but instead of picks and shovels.
It's computing power.
And electricity bills, I bet. Is it even worth it for the average person these days?
Yeah.
With all those massive mining farms you hear about?
You're right. The mining landscape's changed a lot. It's become a whole industry.
Mm-hmm.
But the principle's the same. You're using real resources for digital rewards.
Just like the gold rush, some strike it richer than others, I imagine. But even if I'm not setting up a mining rig in my basement, I get it now. It keeps the network running.
Exactly. Incentives are baked right in.
It's fascinating how Nakamoto brought all this together, cryptography, economics, the whole shebang. But there's one thing I'm still wondering about, and I bet our listeners are too. What about anonymity?
Good point.
If every transaction's recorded on this public ledger, how anonymous can it actually be?
Right. That's where things get a little nuanced. It's true that all transactions are recorded out there for everyone to see.
Right.
But they're not directly tied to your real-world identity.
So it's more like...
Think of it like public keys. They're like anonymous account numbers.
So it's like looking at a stock ticker. You see the trades happening.
Yes.
But you don't know who's buying or selling.
It's more like pseudonymity, not true anonymity.
Okay. So you can track the transactions, but...
But linking them to an actual person, that takes a lot more work.
Gotcha. So there's a certain level of privacy baked in.
You could say that, yes.
But even then, Nakamoto saw both sides of the coin, so to speak. The benefits and the risks.
Absolutely. They saw the potential for, like, increased security, lower fees, a new kind of economy even.
Right, cutting out those middlemen.
But also the potential for misuse. I mean, pseudonymity, decentralization.
Weapon authority.
It could be used for not-so-good things, too. Money laundering, evading regulations, things like that.
And let's not forget the price volatility. Bitcoin's had its ups and downs, that's for sure.
Definitely. That's been a wild ride.
So it's like Nakamoto opened this Pandora's box, digital cash, with all its potential for good and for bad.
It's been quite the journey these past.
Yeah.
How many years has it even been?
Over a decade. Easy.
Amazing, isn't it?
So the big question is, did they actually pull it off? Did Nakamoto create a brand new financial system? Is this the future of money?
It really makes you step back, you know?
It really does. To think that this one white paper...
This anonymous person.
Right. This Satoshi Nakamoto.
Whoever they are.
Wherever they are. They could have sparked a revolution in finance. It's a bit mind-blowing, honestly.
Totally. And we're still in the early stages, really.
Oh, absolutely. We're just starting to see how this whole thing plays out.
Right. This was just the starting point.
Exactly. Nakamoto gave us the blueprint, but so much has happened since then.
Every day there's something new. It's hard to keep up with, even for us.
No kidding. Bitcoin going up, Bitcoin going down, new cryptocurrencies popping up, like
mushrooms.
Exactly. But through all the noise and hype, the thing that keeps coming back to me, it all comes down to trust.
Oh, 100%.
That's the core issue here, isn't it?
It is.
Who do you trust? Back in the day, it was banks, governments, those big institutions.
The powers that be.
Right. But now, Nakamoto's proposing something different.
Trust the code.
Exactly. Not some person or some company, but the system itself.
Which is a pretty radical idea when you really think about it.
It is. And it's not just about money either, is it? This whole idea, this shroud in trust.
It has implications way beyond that.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if we could apply these same principles, these decentralized, trustless systems, to other aspects of our lives.
Supply chains, voting, our digital identities even.
Think about it. What if we could make those systems more transparent, more secure, less prone to manipulation or corruption?
That's the dream, isn't it?
It's a future where power's more distributed.
And trust is based on, the integrity of the system itself, not on who you know or who you trust.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating. Whether or not Bitcoin itself is the future, it sparked a conversation, a whole movement, really, that's challenging the way we think about trust, about power, about how we organize ourselves as a society.
It's exciting, scary, and thought-provoking all at the same time.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, there you have it, Nakamoto's vision. A world of decentralized digital cash with the potential to reshape far more than just our wallets. What will become of it all? That's for you to decide. But one thing's for sure, you can't deny the sheer elegance and potential of Nakamoto's ideas. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. Until next time, keep those curious minds engaged. And remember, sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from the most unexpected places.